Good morning, Senators. My name is Willie Dove. That's spelled W-I-L-L-I-E and not Y. Dove, D-O-V-E. I'm a former Kansas State representative, serving 8 years as a conservative Republican for the 38th District there. I'm also a veteran. The challenge you have before you today will affect, as you know, many individuals who will never have the opportunity to come before you and speak. Instead, we have mothers and fathers that have been coming to you for many, many years and getting this bill passed, LB588. When I first introduced this industrial hemp bill to Kansas, and I used it as a reference, many of my colleagues said that I would never get reelected. However, that was not true because I served for 6 more years. After listening to many researchers and the benefits of medical cannabis, it became clear and very apparent this is not a partisan issue. Parents and seniors are faced with daily challenges of doing the best for their families. Allow me to tell you of a concerned neighbor of which I witnessed the success of medical cannabis. The child of 8 years old, a daughter, has suffered from seizures, in fact 30 to 45 seizures a day. After using a controlled substance of medical cannabis, the child had less seizures. However, she did have occasional seizures of less than 4 to 5 a day, and sometimes none. We as Americans will do anything we can to protect our families. I've related stories of success of many persons in this area that need passage of LB588. I'm urging you to pass this legislation that will allow the use of medical marijuana for all ages. It'll give protection to hardworking Americans who just want the best for their families and assurance that the justice system will not penalize them for using it for the protection of their families here in America. Our senior citizens also, we owe that debt of gratitude to allow them to do the same. Excuse me. One of the things that I've seen here, and done some research is, between 1926 and 1936, 8 major cases were brought before the state courts about the marijuana and the use of it. The decisions rendered in this case were very noteworthy. In fact, typically the judgment ruled mythology or opinion rather than scientific evidence. When we hear and look at the argument of illegal drugs, there must be some comparative study done. There is none. If so, where is it? More violence is absorbed by the use of alcohol than medical marijuana. It is harder to quit cigarettes than heroin. However, we look at this marijuana as something that's going to cause a severe problem.
Sir, I'm afraid your red light is on. Let's see.
That's why I'm stopping.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are you styled as member, representative? How do we address you?
Willie Dove, please.
Okay. Mr. Dove, let's see if there are any questions for you. Senator McKinney has one.
Thank you. And you kind of was hitting that point that I think should be brought up in this conversation about cannabis. The prohibition of cannabis in the United States was largely led by racism and xenophobia. It wasn't outlawed originally. It wasn't outlawed because people deemed it as a horrible drug that had killed our kids. It was framed in a manner based around racism, xenophobia, and fear, and individuals trying to protect themselves financially. And I think that's important to note. What do you say to the people that are going to come up and say, if we legalize medical cannabis, it's going to destroy our kids, it's going to make our state bad, and all these things that always pop up year after year?
Senator, thank you for that question. It's a very good question. In fact, if I had more time, I could elaborate more, but I'll try and be as quick as possible. In the 1800s, illegal drugs were being used by individuals who were taxpaying, who were voters, and their case was never taken up because it wasn't something that the individual benefactors who were in the legislature, I'll say, wanted to take up, because those were voters. Those were white people that they did not want to cause a problem. Well, I'm saying, as a conservative Republican, let's get away from that. Our Democratic cohorts have done that. They have shared the same concerns that we have for our children. And it shouldn't be this issue of, because I can do this, I can get away with it. Well, this is something that has caused a big, big problem. What I'm pointing out is the law is proportionally to disadvantaged persons when the subject is up for discussion.
And last question, do you think states should wait for the federal government to get their act right?
You got a great question there, Senator. I don't think the federal government is going to do it, because there are more dollars in this area keeping it just the way it is. But there is something good about that. States should be given the opportunity to do what's good for their states. We are an autonomous union, and the United States was born that way, and I hope it stays that way, because states need that autonomy to do what is necessary for their constituents.
Thank you. I'm glad you pointed out that the continued prohibition of cannabis and marijuana is largely driven by financial concerns from big corporations, not really based in real fact.
Ditto, Senator. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Senator McKinney. Other questions from the committee? Thank you, Mr. Dove.
Thank you, Senator.